Hello everyone, welcome to Period 5 Ultimate Review. Uh, this is my 5th video of the Ultimate Review series, and we're going to be covering Period 5 today, which spans from 1844 to 1877. If you guys have been enjoying these videos so far, make sure to subscribe because I'm a student who got a 5 on the AP test last year, so I think these slides will be very beneficial to you. And if you want to check out the slides, it'll be linked in my YouTube channel description. Alright, let's get into it. So some of the big ideas in this period is James K. Polk's election and his expansionist platform, also called Manifest Destiny, the end of Reconstruction, Compromise of 1877. That's the start and the end, basically. You have themes which are westward expansion and sectional tensions over slavery, the Civil War causes, events, and consequences, emancipation and transformation of African American life, Reconstruction politics, successes and failures. So Manifest Destiny and Westward Expansion. So Manifest Destiny, the belief that US was destined to expand across the continent, it was fueled by nationalism, economic opportunity, and racial superiority ideas. Key events include the annexation of Texas, tensions with Mexico, the Oregon Treaty, settled border with Britain at 49 parallel, Mexican-American War, U.S. victory led to the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and it gained California and Southwest, and it renewed the debate over slavery in the new territories. So there's also like a legislation called the Wilmot Proviso, and it proposed to ban slavery in land from Mexico, but it failed and deepened sectional divide. So this is actually very important because it just shows that there will never be able to be like an official compromise, and people will always be on different sides, even though it doesn't even get passed. Then you have the Mexican-American War. So the annexation of Texas angered Mexico, which still claimed Texas. And there was also a lot of border disputes. So U.S. claimed that the Rio Grande was the border, but Mexico claimed that it was the Nucas River. So Manifest Destiny, belief in U.S. expansion to the Pacific, and President Polk ran on the ideals of Manifest Destiny and desired California and New Mexico. So there was a skirmish at the disputed border of Texas, and Polk declares American blood on American soil. So that basically kicked off the war. You have U.S. forces led by Zachary Taylor, and they had a lot of decisive victories. There was the Bear Flag Revolt in California, which establishes brief independence before U.S. control. You have the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and Mexico seized Mexican secession, which is all these states, and U.S. pays $15 million. So the impact, U.S. territory basically grows by about a third, and this intensifies sectional conflict, the debate over slavery in new lands, and the Wilmot Proviso arose, which I talked about earlier. So you have the Compromise of 1850 by Henry Clay. It proposed that California enter the Union as a free state, popular sovereignty, which would be used in Utah and Mexico, and this was the idea that people could choose if they wanted that territory to be free or slave through a vote. Then you have a Stronger Fugitive Slave Act, which was very important. You had the slave trade ban in D.C. You have the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and this repealed the Missouri Compromise line, and it established popular sovereignty in Kansas and Nebraska, and which led to the Bleeding Kansas violence. So basically, Kansas-Nebraska Act, it establishes more popular sovereignty, and it just leads to more intensified conflict and even violence, which we see in Bleeding Kansas. And some of the key events are Dred Scott versus Stanford, and it ruled African Americans not citizens, and Congress can't ban slavery in territories. Then you have John Brown's raid. It was an attempted armed slave revolt. He was captured and executed though. And then you have the Republican Party rising, and they opposed expansion of slavery and supported free soil. The election of 1860 and secession. So election of 1860, Abraham Lincoln wins without Southern electoral votes. So he basically wins entire voting without a single vote from the South. And this just goes to show how big of a difference in viewpoints on slavery there is from the South and the North. Like they will not agree on anything, like for permanently. And his platform, it was no expansion of slavery, but it was not an immediate abolition. Southern states see it as a threat, and secession begins. So by February 1861, 7 Deep South states formed Confederate States of America. The president of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis, and then Lincoln rejects legitimacy of the secession. The Civil War. So it's the Union versus the Confederacy over slavery, but they actually they justified it through states' rights rather than slavery. And I'll go more in detail on that later. But what you have to know, like the South, they wanted foreign support from like Britain, and so they used the justification of the Civil War over states' rights rather than slavery because Britain banned slavery. But in the end, it quickly got revealed that the whole point of the war was over slavery. So the Union advantages in the war was it had a larger population, industry, railroads, navy, established government. Confederate advantages included they were fighting a defensive war in their own territory. They had better military leadership early and knowledge of terrain. Key battles, you don't need to know all of these, just know like Fort Sumter was the beginning, Gettysburg, this was a major turning point, and then the Sherman's March on the Sea. It's like basically the Northern General. He basically swept across the South and he basically cleared everything out. It was total destruction. Yeah, that's probably it. You don't need to know every single battle. So emancipation and African American role in the war. So the Emancipation Proclamation, it freed slaves in rebelling states, but not in border states. It changed the war aim, now about slavery and union rather than states' rights, and it prevented European support for confederacies such as Great Britain and England. African American contributions, 180,000 served in Union Army/Navy. They worked in labor and support roles for Union, but they faced discrimination, lower pay, and harsher punishments, and it was a partial reason for the Union victory. The end of the Civil War and Lincoln's assassination. So the end of the war, Union victory was inevitable, and after Gettysburg and Vicksburg, Grant relentlessly pursued Lee's army, and Lee eventually surrenders at the Appomattox. So Lincoln's assassination, he was shot by John Wilkes Booth, and it shocked the nation and left Reconstruction leadership to Andrew Johnson. Reconstruction plans. Presidential Reconstruction, by Johnson, he was very lenient. He pardoned many Confederates, and he allowed black codes which restricted freedmen's rights. But then you have the radical Republicans in Congress, and they basically did this. So they had the Military Reconstruction Acts, which divided South into 5 military districts. They required the new Constitution and ratification of 14th Amendment, and it supported the Freedmen's Bureau to help free slaves. Some of the amendments are the 13th, which abolished slavery. You have the 14th, citizenship and equal protection. 15th, voting rights for black men. Reconstruction successes and failures. Some of the successes include public schools established in South, African Americans elected to office, some land redistribution attempted. Some of the failures include sharecropping system, economic dependence on white landowners. So sharecropping was basically another version of slavery. And you have the rise of KKK and white supremacy, North's waning commitment, redemption, governments retake South. So the end of Reconstruction happens in the Compromise of 1877. So in the election of 1876, it was very disputed between Hayes and Tilden. An agreement was Hayes becomes president, but federal troops will have to be withdrawn from South. And African American rights erode very quickly under the Jim Crow laws after this compromise, and they began to quickly take over the South as no federal troops were there, leading to new forms of resistance and hardships for African Americans. So if you guys want to pause right here and study these vocab words, I think they're like very essential. You need to know your vocab so you can use it on DBQs, LEQs, and short answers. So if you guys want to pause and just read those. And then these are the key historical thinking skills. You guys want to start thinking about this stuff. It's very important. when you're talking about, in your essays, you need to know cause and effect relationships, like continuity over time, comparison. So if you guys want to pause here, it'd be really good. So anyway, that ends the video for period 5. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you guys want to keep seeing more videos like these, make sure to like tell your friends about it. And you can always check out my slides in my channel description if you guys want to read through all my previous slides. So stay tuned, as I will be making more videos in the future. And thank you. Bye.